Dear trading friends, we need to talk. A quick update on Bitcoin and Ethereum. I hope it'll be brief, but I've taken a closer look at the market for you. Once again, I've done a bit of a deeper analysis. A lot of level 2 data this time. That means, of course, we're looking at the order bucks. Where exactly have the big whales positioned themselves, and what are they planning? Can we prepare ourselves for that? Can we join in? You've already got an initial setup here with Bitcoin. You can see it, 90 million in shorts just waiting on Binance here. What a coincidence, right at the 0.5 Fibonacci, exactly at a rejection level, which is usually what I trade and what I'm still speculating on now. I'm not too bearish yet, but we also have 150 million lying below us. Right at a liquidation level, around 86,000, a bit lower. Which liquidation level am I talking about? I'm talking about exactly this one here, what we have right here. You can see it very clearly in Model 3 over 3 months. You can see the strong liquidation cluster there. That's exactly where big whales have positioned themselves. And at the moment, yes, we have 150 million US dollars in long positions placed there. So super interesting. Now the question is, will we pick up what's below first or what's above? But let's also take a look at Ethereum before we dive deeper. And Ethereum also has such a pattern cluster. And I'll show you that also in the level 2 data, what it looks like. Exactly the same thing we have here. So now we have 90 million US dollars just on Binance waiting below us here at around 2,900 to 2,870 US dollars, which will hopefully indicate a reversal in Ethereum. And up here, exactly in this price range, that is from the high of these candles we have here up to just below the 0.618 Fibonacci, or also this fair value gap we see here. There are 188 million US dollars in short positions just on Binance. Yes. And of course, we need to watch that more closely. We also need to try to use that to our advantage. That's how things currently look. What I don't like about Ethereum, we actually have a break here as well in this upward trend line that we had. After a brief breakdown, we immediately moved back above this line. But now we've had another breakdown, a second one, with a retest, and we're currently continuing to move downward. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of these trend lines, but they do have their justification. Despite everything, if I remove this here and just use my usual strategy, the Fibonacci strategy, which normally works so well, and we also have proof from the past, which I keep sharing with you live here on YouTube, showing how well it works. Whether it was with Bitcoin or Ethereum, we've had an incredible number of good trades here, and that's why I stick to it, of course. And if you don't know the strategy yet, or if you're interested in the strategy with fantastic sniper entries, then check out my video. It works every time. The simplest trading strategy, and you're still not using it. Or also the Learn Trading Step-by-Step to Profit Trader playlist tutorial. Yes, there's really a lot in there that can help you advance in trading. Let's keep going now. At this point, I see the same thing happening with a lot of coins, both with Ethereum, but also with Bitcoin. And now we're going to start with Bitcoin. Here as well, trend line, this flag, yes, it has its justification, and you can see we're consolidating heavily around it right now. So at the moment, we don't know exactly yet. On the daily chart, it actually looked a bit better. Yes, breakdown, plus what? The next day we close back inside. The following day also close back inside, and now we have another breakdown below it. So not all that great. Despite all that, let's put that aside for a moment and focus purely on the Fibonacci strategy and carry that out now. If we don't make a lower low, and we actually see it like this now, so that this is the last low at the current point in time, I still see recoveries up to the 0.50, 0.618 Fibonacci, maybe even a bit higher. But for me, now that we've broken through this downward trend here, the next possible short scenario is in the next recovery. That's what I'm currently aiming for. Now the question is, will we first pick up these 90 million short orders here, where there are also quite a few liquidations above us? I'll show you that in a moment. And then do we go down to around 86,000, where 150 million in longs are waiting for us? I'll show you that again. Here we can also see, by the way, that the liquidations are now above us. Yes, very strongly at 91,000, just under 92,000, and here again at 93,000. If we look at the chart, the 91,000 is roughly this peak, so roughly around here. But then here at 92 to 93,000, that's exactly this rejection level. That means the big whales who actually position themselves here with their orders, and you can see that again here. This is the pattern I mean, which is always striking, that apparently the same guy or institution, whatever it may be, has placed more or less the same order across several price ranges here. We can take a look from 91 to 92,000 US dollars. We can see that here on the right. This is exactly the pattern I mean, where we see 1 day and 20 hours, 1 day and 20 hours. Yes, here and everywhere. Someone went short with 1 million US dollars. Where there's a bit more involved, orders have been to mind. But we see here, 1 day, 20 hours, all placed at the same time. So someone has placed an incredible number of limit orders here, each a bit over 1 million US dollars. And in most cases, that's an institution or a whale who simply wants to have all their limit orders filled. And that's exactly what's happening here. We've entered this Fibonacci level, and it's still a price range that I'm continuing to focus on. Before we probably get the next rejection down, because we've simply broken this upward structure to the downside here. It gets really bad if we also break these last lows here. If we look at this now, I want to go through something else with you. So what else do we have here? If I switch to the 1 hour chart here, and we look at where this break would lead to. Since then, we usually say we can use the Fibonacci extension here to create a pattern for ourselves, so we can determine price targets. At this point, we can't do that yet because we don't have a real recovery here. And if I now switch to the 4 hour chart, you'll see more clearly what I mean. If it plays out like this, that could be our structural shift, the move upwards. And if I now use the extension, yes, and there really shouldn't be a lower low. We are entering somewhere into these price ranges here. Then we see a target level of around 77 to 71,000 US dollars. That's how it could look. But if we now go in and take a look at the old target level since the big record crash, and also look here, you can see that we have a match exactly at this target level, which I've been talking about for such a long time. 76,000, 72,000, 67,000. Yeah, with this small break, we should really continue to move down and leave this area, so that we would actually have the 1.618 or even the 1.809 as wonderful target levels down here. And that's where I would also risk new short positions. I wouldn't really count on a recovery now so that we could keep rising. I'm really risking new short positions here to take advantage of this as a possible play. That's all for Bitcoin for now. Yeah, let's continue with Ethereum, because unfortunately things aren't looking so good there. We currently have 90 million US dollars in long positions sitting on Binance here. That's fine, but as we'll see in the level 2 data in a moment, unfortunately at this point we still don't have many clear cluster patterns below us, like we saw earlier with Bitcoin. But things look quite different, unfortunately, with this rejection level here. And here too you can see that the rejection level, with 188 million US dollars in shorts, once again coincides with the Fibonacci level. Not only does it coincide with a Fibonacci level, but also with a liquidation level, the next larger one coming up here at 3,133 US dollars. Let's take a look inside. The Fibonacci level is at 3,120 US dollars here. 3,133 would probably be roughly this fair value gap here. I can quickly activate that as well so you can see it a bit better. Yes, so that it's visualized. Exactly this price range could be very interesting. For me, it's still super interesting. Simply because we had such a strong sell-off without any significant recovery. You can see the liquidation level we have here, plus the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement level. And that's where we're heading now, let's take a look inside. This is exactly the cluster I'm talking about, this striking pattern that we have here again. You can see an incredible number of small orders here, or small each time a million, that we have in here. And if I now mark all of this, and we take a look at how many orders are actually here, we see 185 million in short orders just waiting here on Binance. Then we also have spot, 10 million being sold, and then we have another 6.24 million even on OKX, which are still waiting here as short orders. So basically almost 200 million, you could say, if we include everything that's waiting here to be sold off. I don't find that so nice at the moment, and you have to be a bit careful. If the price goes in here, what happens next? And that would actually be nothing different from what I said before. A recovery, Fibonacci level, and then it could keep going down. Because we really have to be careful with Ethereum. I tried hard. Yeah, I can even go up to 1 million. Then we actually see the bigger clusters. So where there are actually bigger whales who have placed everything with a minimum order of 1 million. And if we scroll up a bit here, we'll probably see a similar pattern. And that's exactly what I mean. 1 day, 20 hours, 1 day, 20 hours. Here as well, 1 day, 20 hours. Yeah, and the pattern you see here is that very, very similar order sizes were placed at the same time everywhere. That's probably a whale, an institution that is ready to sell off Ethereum again, which of course isn't great for the Ethereum price. And of course we need to be careful about that. Accordingly, I'll also be especially cautious with the trading bots that are currently active. We have some that are nicely in profit, others are back in the red, and I'll have to try to balance that out as well. But I'll keep you updated in the signal group, of course, when the time comes. So what problem do I currently see? Ethereum, above us, we have massive selling volume, but below us, and this is what I was looking for on the chart, we actually only have 90 million at Binance that I found below us. That's from 2,900 to 2,870. That's not a lot. That's roughly this price range. So this cluster that's here, right here, from 2,900 to 2,870, because otherwise, as you can see here, we did have a small cluster again, but it's just 7 million. It's okay, but it's not really significant. The next one that would come in, I think, is down here, if I'm not mistaken, or if we mark it. Nah, not that strong here. Yes, here we have 29 million. Okay, you can count that as a cluster, but it's not that many long positions and not even a million in spot. That's what I mean. We have strong sell-off volume waiting just above us, but unfortunately, very little new buying volume. So the people who want to go long here or really want to buy something here are overall very scattered. But we don't see any institution or whale saying, hey, I want Ethereum to stop falling here, if possible, and I want to get in. Of course, we need to keep monitoring this. Liquidation, as I just mentioned, looks like this. And on a 3-month basis, we've picked up very strong liquidity. First, there was a trading bot that I started in the Signal group, even a bit lower in this price range. It's currently still in the red, but that's not a problem. And then we have a second trading bot that was actually triggered right on point down here, in the price range of 2,800 and a bit, where the CME gap was as well, also during this liquidation, which is currently in profit, yes. And you can see that here as well. Where are the Ethereum trading bots if I go in here? These are the two. So the first one here was also planned with the 0.5 Fibonacci. That was around 3,780. And the second one here had its entry down at about 2,885. And there you can really see how well and reliably such liquidation levels work in combination with Fibonacci and level 2 data. And accordingly, yes, the next thing we have on a long-term basis is actually only at 2,600 US dollars. So we have to be careful at the moment. Will it happen? I can't say. We'll see, because if we go back here to 1 week and 2 weeks, especially in Model 3, where we get much more and deeper insight, it currently looks very much like we're going to rise again. That doesn't mean it has to happen immediately, but for me, in the short term, a rise to 3,135, maybe even to 3,263 US dollars is possible. That would be, and where would we be again then? Roughly here at this 0.5, 0.6, 1.8, or even a highest liquidation level at this gap here. Because don't forget, and this is something I keep an eye on with Bitcoin and Ethereum, at this gap here, the US was no longer involved after we dropped down here. That was on Friday. The US was only back in the game on Tuesday, yes. That means the US didn't participate in this price drop. Neither with Ethereum nor up here with Bitcoin. Exactly the same. Here, the US was still involved, but they missed out on all of this. Somewhere around here, they only got back in, right in this price range. So the US was no longer in the game here, and couldn't take part in a price drop of several thousand US dollars. Alright, I think that's it for now. Yeah, there's no analysis for all coins. Exactly. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and see you next time. Ciao, ciao.